I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and today's topic is opportunity. So, we often experience obstacles in life and obstruction and difficulties. And what if, rather than simply obstructions, these experiences are opportunities for our growth, for our expansion, for our awareness. What if, in fact, they're serving us? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present, right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. It's so good to be here with you. And let's talk about opportunity and how opportunity is everywhere. Our experience, the one thing that we have the ability to influence and um, perhaps control in our lives is the way that we experience the world and the way that we view the world. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. Today we're talking about how opportunity is everywhere, often in the form of obstacles or obstruction, but it's everywhere. So um, the lens through which we experience the world dictates our experience. The lens is the determiner of our perception, which is then determining our responses. And so when we deliberately cultivate a lens, then we are deliberately cultivating our experience and deliberately influencing our experience. So the lens that we talk about a lot is this: life is happening for me and through me rather than to me. So life is expressing itself through each of us as the unique vessel that we are. And when we cultivate this lens that life is happening for me and through me, when we experience what we're perceiving or interpreting as an obstacle or an obstruction, if we're interpreting through that lens, then there's an opportunity there, right? If life is happening for me and through me, then the things that are the challenges in life that present themselves are opportunities. They're serving me in some way, shape, or form. And when we recognize or allow for that possibility that this seeming obstacle is serving me in some way, what happens is that we are enabled to release our resistance to that obstacle, quote unquote obstacle. When we release the resistance, we're more open to the flow of life. We're more open to opportunity. I mean, if we think about obstacle or obstruction, what is that? It's something that is obstructing the flow. And that's what resistance is. We're obstructing the flow of life, and we're impeding our connection. And so this lens of life is happening for me and through me, it's a discipline. I say to people, it's a discipline. That's my experience, that it's a discipline that I have to, or I get to, or I'm blessed to keep reminding myself that I get to choose, that I get to deepen into that perception, that notion, that foundational premise. And as I deepen into that, then I start looking for opportunities, or certainly being open to those opportunities. And part of these opportunities, or these opportunities often show up as synchronicities, or what I like to call magical experiences that were unpredictable. And I recently told the story, I'll tell it again, of a trip back from California, and my flight to my connecting flight, or my flight that was going to connect in Dallas, was delayed. So I missed my connecting flight. And that can be a catalyst. When you miss a flight, it can turn easily into a downward spiral of frustration and upset, right? Because things aren't happening the way we think they should. Excuse me. Things aren't happening the way that we want them to unfold, right? So we have ideas about the way things should be. And that's most often when we experience obstacles, is when things aren't quite the way we think they should be or we want them to be, right? So through this process, I'm reminding myself very consciously and deliberately, life is happening for me and through me. And so I go to the customer service and had a lovely conversation with the person, the customer service person, and she was able to put me on the very next flight, which was about, it was an hour and a half, 2 hours later. And I could have been grumbling and mumbling. It turns out it was interesting. She and I had the same last name. We got to talk about our heritage. It was really interesting. And she got me the last seat on the next flight. And it happened to be a window seat. So when does that happen, right? That, first of all, you get the last seat on a flight. Second of all, that it's a window seat. But anyway, I used the time to be able to connect with some people, to get some food, to just find a space of ease and balance without agitation. And I got on the plane, and there I am on a window seat. And toward the end of the flight, the pilot announces that if you're on the left side of the plane, you'll be able to see the northern lights as we're flying into Philadelphia. And of course, my window seat, that was the last seat on the plane, was on the left side of the plane. So there I was in a perfect position to be able to witness the northern lights, which has been on the top of my bucket list for quite some time. I've researched going to um, Iceland, and to be going to find the northern lights. Now I want to back up for a couple minutes, because you might notice this wonderful, a friend called it an amulet. I love it, around my neck. And this is Labradorite. And I was reading about Labradorite, and there are stories about Labradorite's origin being a crystallization of the northern lights. Well, how wild is that, right? Anyway, I had just gotten this before, while I was in California. So I'm on this flight, and the pilot is saying you can look out the side of the plane and see the northern lights. And there I am looking at the northern lights. And the interesting thing is, and I think that there's a good metaphor here for all of us, that to the naked eye, the northern lights were faint. They were very faint in the sky. And so faint that you could imagine that it was maybe a trick of the lights off the wing of the plane, or that it wasn't vivid. But when I took a photograph with my phone, it automatically went into time lapse, and I was able to see the blooming of these brilliant colors in the northern lights, brilliant red, some greens and turquoises, sort of like you see in this Amazonite, I'm sorry, Labradorite stone here. Anyway, it was a spectacular and magical experience, and the people on the other side of the plane couldn't see it, and I shared photographs with the people that were in the row with me. And the story continues, because when we're talking about um, life happening for us and through us, there's unending magic that just ripples. So I was talking to a client that Monday, and they were telling me that they had been on a plane coming home from Germany, and they were told that the northern lights were visible, and they were not at a window seat. They weren't able to see it. Somebody, I guess, took pictures, and they were just so desirous to have these photos, to be able to see the photos. And here I had photos of the northern lights that I was then able to share with them. So it completed this circle for them as well, which I love, because it gives us the opportunity to sort of really see how these ripples go outward. It was just absolutely remarkable. And so, obstacle as opportunity, to double back to the original intention of this conversation. What looked like an obstacle, which was that I missed my connecting flight, turned out to be an opportunity, which, had I not been a couple hours later, I wouldn't have been able to see those lights with the drama that I did. And I wouldn't have been in the window seat on the left side of the plane. And so I just love when the universe speaks back to us. It's always speaking back to us. It's always speaking to us. We're in a collaboration. We're in a dance with life. And when we can recognize it with such vividness, it's such a profound gift to to be present to the magic and the interconnectedness of life experience, opportunity, particularly when we release our resistance. And I think that that's the most fundamental lesson of life is happening for me and through me, is that when we stop resisting the way things are, when we stop resisting life as it occurs and dance with it, it doesn't mean that we're a passive partner, but that when we actively engage with life and dance with it, then magic unfolds. So I'm going to segue into this marvelous, marvelous book that I have been listening to on Audible as part of our Regenerative Reads book club. We're moving into our very first meeting on the 28th, so a week from today, which I'm very excited about. And the book that we are reading slash listening to is called The Light Eaters. And I cannot recommend this book heartily enough. It is really powerfully, scientifically presencing us to the magic of life, particularly plant life, and talking about the incredible capabilities that plants have to perceive light, sound, surroundings, and respond accordingly. In other words, seeing, hearing, feeling, thinking, those words that we associate with a human brain, plants are exhibiting behaviors that indicate their ability in some way, shape, or form to detect visual, auditory, sensory information and to respond to that information accordingly. I think that any of us who grow plants know and can recognize that they move toward the light, that they respond to different stimuli. Some of us talk to plants, some of us play music for plants. You know, but there's a relationship that we can witness between plants and their environment. So again, this book is called The Light Eaters. It's magnificently written, and it opens up a new world of perception around the nature of not only intelligence, but the nature of our very own beingness, talking about the microbiome and these fields of microbes and and molecules that we shed all the time, and it blurs the boundaries of what we perceive to be ourselves, not even the wonder of plants and what worlds they may be inhabiting, but also the wonder of our own being and the wonder of nature and the interconnectedness of things. So it brings me back to this notion of obstacle and opportunity, where in considering these awarenesses that are growing awarenesses of maybe the words are difficult, but consciousness or intelligence of other life forms, which indigenous people, by the way, have recognized for forever. But when we allow ourselves to release the resistance and open ourselves to opportunity, what is the opportunity for connectedness that we have as we recognize that our perceptions of the world are very much more limited than we might have imagined. And so the beliefs that we hold are often the foundation of our resistance, right? Like we have a belief, and therefore certain possibilities can't possibly exist. For those that believe that plants have no sentience, for example, if they believe that strongly enough, they can't entertain what the nature of this awareness is that plants evidence, right? We close our eyes to evidence. So it reminds me of years and years ago when my dad was still around, and I had just learned muscle testing, and I demonstrated muscle testing to him with his arms, showing him that I could get a yes or a no indicator from his body. And he literally pulled his arms away and he said, "You can't tell me that you just got information from my body, that you were talking to my body." And I said, "You just experienced it. Are you going to tell me that your belief that that's not possible is stronger than the experience that you just had?" And he said, "Absolutely." And it just cracks me up that that's how we operate so much in life, that we impose our beliefs, this resistance to what is so in many cases, and we use our beliefs as truth rather than beliefs as hypotheses that might guide us through the world that we can then challenge and explore. And we have these opportunities to go beyond our resistance, to be able to be receptive to life, to the communications from life and from our experience. We have the opportunity to dissolve obstacles by reframing them, recreating them in our experience. And by noticing our resistance, we have the opportunity to expand. So Rosalind says, can someone do forgiveness technique, whether the person is alive or past, looking the person in their eyes and forgiving them and yourself for any hurt words that were said. They don't have to change or know. So it's changing the belief within. I think that's a beautiful thing, Rosalind. I think that that's, Ho'oponopono is a beautiful, beautiful practice to be able to do that. And I tend to believe that there is no time. And so when we experience the way Ho'oponopono works is by presencing yourself to the situation, the person, the circumstance, and saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And so the I'm sorry is recognizing our role in creating whatever it is that occurred. And that's a switch from the blame that is often inherent when we say, I forgive you, because we're still saying there was something for you to forgive you for. And so when we take responsibility for creating a situation, we can also dissolve the need for that forgiveness. I'm sorry, please forgive me. So I'm accountable. I'm asking for your grace. I love you. We're one. Thank you. Gratitude and appreciation. And it's not just the words, it's presencing to that. And so, whatever the step is toward forgiveness, it can begin with, I forgive you for the wrong you've done me. And when we believe that, or when we operate from life is happening for me and through me, in some respect, that need for forgiveness falls away because things somehow become perfect, even if they were painful, even if they were damaging, because they gave us an opportunity for growth and transformation and awakening. So, very interesting. Maybe we get to talk about forgiveness sometime soon. Anyway, that is it for today. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it's such a tremendous privilege to have the opportunity to have these morning musings together. So until next time, so much love to you.